We're going to be talking to Jake Bowen from Periphery. He is one of the 3 guitar players in Periphery. We're going to be talking to him about, he's also a fractal player, but he uses Ibanez guitars and Dimarzio pickups.
Awesome. I think we have him ready for you. Okay. There you go.
So how's it going today, Jake?
Great. How are you?
Pretty good. So you've had quite a few new pieces of gear come out in the last year or so. You have a Ibanez guitar and a Dimarzio pickup under your name now, right?
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about those? Were you developing those, simultaneously, like keeping one in mind when you came up with the other, or did you work on the guitar first and then the pickup? Or?
Well, I got an email from my rep at Ibanez explaining to me that they were interested in developing a signature guitar, and I was really excited and I really wanted to do it, and I was going over ideas on what type of guitar I would like, and all my favorite signature models always come with some sort of special pickup in them that go with the guitar really well and really solidify the identity of the player and the guitar. So as soon as I got that offer, I went to Dimarzio and I said, "Hey, Ibanez is interested in doing this. Would you be interested in developing a pickup?" So they were excited to do that, and they were kind of developed side by side, but the pickup ended up being finished before the guitar was. But when the guitar does go for sale in July, you'll be able to get the pickups in the guitar.
So did one inform the design of the other? Like, did Dimarzio here and what type of wood is in the guitar, for example? And then did Dimarzio say oh, okay, you've got basswood or mahogany or whatever, so let's go with this design for the pickup?
The woods in the guitar were still being decided before we started designing the pickup. So the guitar ended up being a mahogany body with a maple top, but the pickup is a ceramic magnet pickup. So it just happened to work out that it sounds great and I love it, but the woods were never considered when developing the pickup.
And both of those are called the Titan, right?
Yeah. There's the Titan neck and the Titan bridge.
Okay, and what about your guitar?
The guitar, it's called the JBM 100.
Okay.
Jake Bowen model, 1.
Mm-hmm. So what was it like? You've got your custom guitar being designed. You have your custom pickups being designed. Did it almost feel like too much freedom? Like, did you have to put a lot of soul searching into? Okay, my guitar and my pickups are both being developed. This is going to be my tone. Other people are going to be buying it, but you got to be playing it too. Did you have to really figure out and stew on that?
Yeah, it took a lot of thought, and luckily, I work pretty closely with Ibanez and my rep, Mike Taft at Ibanez, and he lets me build the kind of guitars that I want to build with Ibanez. So I was able to kind of figure out what I liked with their LA custom shop, and then one of the last LA custom shops that they sent me ended up being the basis for the Signature series, which is built in Japan. But it didn't change too much other than maybe the woods used. I think I have a different woods in the LA custom shop, but it just what's great is that Ibanez already makes parts, already existing parts that I feel comfortable playing on, and they use high quality wood, and it was really easy to develop something that I would enjoy playing on, as well as something that we could sell, because that was kind of the big thing with the guitars, that I didn't want to put something out that I wasn't going to play, or if I needed a guitar and there was one at a local store, I would want to play that one. So that was kind of the biggest point in developing it, was making it something that I would play myself.
Did you have any fear of what if the perfect guitar for me is just not what people are into, or was that not a concern at all?
Not really. I think when I got this offer, I was just like, the best signature guitars are really just an expression of that player's what they want, and how what they think looks good and what they think feels good. And that's just what I went with. I just went completely based on stuff that I know I enjoy. But strangely enough, a lot of the stuff that I enjoy about Ibanez guitars, a lot of people there's this cult following for them, and a lot of the choices that I made design wise fall in line with a lot of the things that those types of people like.
I remember the last time I talked to you about your guitar, you told me that one of your favorite things about it was the particular finish. Could you describe that a little bit?
Yeah, I actually have it right here. I can hold it up.
That'd be great.
But I'm not sure how well you can tell with the lighting in my room, but it's a matte finish, and there are some guitars with a matte finish, but this particular finish doesn't get like worn off after a while. And I've actually toured a lot on this guitar, and it still looks as new as when I opened the case for the first time. But I also wanted to do originally a matte black finish, and they ended up sending this kind of like pencil lead graphite black finish, and it ended up being kind of like I like that much better, so we ended up going with that. Yeah, because I like very subtle guitar design choices. I'm not really into like fancy tops or crazy colors. I like things that are sleek.
Could you tell me a little bit about, because you've got 3 guitar players, which is not unheard of, but not incredibly common. How do you go about, EQing your bands, setting up your sound so that all your guitars and Periphery work with each other at a live show or even on an album?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and it really comes down to the Axe effects and how we dial it in on the Axe effects, which is the guitar preamp that we use. So we use the Axe effects 2 XL. That's by Fractal Audio, and we have a lot going on, and there's a lot of layering, and there's also a bass player and a vocalist and a drummer to account for. So we really have to make sure that the tone is surgical in the sense that it sits right exactly where it needs to, or as best as we can get it. We're not, tone doctors or anything, but it's a very mid-rangey guitar tone. And I mean, if you think about the guitar as an instrument and where it sits in a certain frequency range, typically rock and metal is in the mid-range. If there's one guitar player or sometimes 2 guitar players, but the music isn't as intricate, you can kind of experiment a little bit outside of the mid-range frequencies, but we tend to have a very mid-rangey sound. And something that we go for is this tone that really meshes well with the bass. And there are some recordings, good examples of this are like Meshuggah, or like A Life Once Lost. They have a guitar tone that is really mid-rangey, and it sits really well with the bass. So when the bass and the guitar are playing the same thing, it produces this very unique growl, and that's kind of what we go for.
I remember you told me that all 3 of you guys actually use pretty much the same exact amp model, right? And it's just like any EQ differences are set up by your front of house sound guy. The other thing that I thought was interesting was that you guys are in stereo, right? At your live performance?
Well, Mark and Misha are on the right and left. Actually, I think from the audience perspective, Mark would be on the left and Misha would be on the right, and I sit in the center. I'm faded to the center, and the reason for that is we want when you're recording guitars and you double track guitars, normally you'll pan one hard left and pan one hard right, and it produces this kind of it's not, I guess, like technically it might be considered a chorusing effect, but it's not as like obvious as a chorusing effect, but it makes the sound much wider. So we try to go for that live, and with me panned in the center, I'm able to do a lot of the more ambient, ethereal sounds and layers. But when we do all play the same riff, it really sounds like this huge, wide guitar sound.
Do you?
So that's how it's live.
I haven't really paid as much attention lately to live sound with bands, but I don't really see too many bands doing a stereo setup. A lot of live sound to me tends to be mono. Do you ever run into issues where you're at a club and or a venue or whatever, and the sound system is not set up to be stereo? Like any kind of phasing issue or anything you have to change with your setup?
Yeah, I mean, it happens occasionally. We're still very much a club band, and some clubs that we play have, a much smaller PA or a PA that is run in mono, and we don't have to change anything on our end, but our sound guy, Alex Marquides, he'll definitely have to fight with a little bit to get the sound right. But he knows how to route all that stuff to get the most out of whatever setup we walk into. But yeah, it's been in certain clubs, it's been kind of difficult to really get the best sound for. We're like a notoriously difficult band to mix, and Alex is really the only guy who understands it. So he usually has to figure it out. But yeah, it's been difficult.
So both your guitar, the Ibanez JB100, right, and then the pickups, the Dimarzio Titan, those are all available now?
Well, the pickups are available now, and we are working on a 7-string version.
Okay.
And then the guitar will be available in July.
Okay. So are the pickups also available for sale outside of the guitar, right?
Yeah. You can actually go to Guitar Center or Musician's Friend online and grab them, or you can order them from any Dimarzio dealer.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for being on here, Jake.
Thank you.